And right now, we've got a great guest on the line. Let's do it, folks. Bryan O'Leary is the author of a terrific book, and that is, of course, the untold story, SpyGate. This book is great.
Hi.
This is a real page-turner. Bryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks. I appreciate you having me on. Sorry, I was calling in late.
Oh, no problem. It's great because I gave a chance to talk a little bit about the report and get fans in, so glad you could join us here. Bryan, just let me ask you your initial thoughts. When you looked through the report, what did you think? Did you think, as a person who wrote this book, saying, "See, I told you so"? What was your initial thoughts?
When I read the Wells report?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I was really surprised about, parts of it. Like, for instance, when they allude to the fact that they weren't allowed to talk to, a key member, a key, participant in the scheme. The Patriots Council blocked that. I thought that was really kind of jaw-dropping. They spent a lot of time and money. I mean, everybody who's ever hired an attorney knows what these people charge. And they spent months and months doing this. And regardless of their explanation that he was interviewed 4 times and they thought 5 was too much, well, why do they care? This guy's a part-time ball boy who only scuffs up Tom Brady's balls. The guy doesn't do anything that they should be concerned. It's not like he's a high-ranking official that had better things to do. And, the way the report reads, that they had a lot of follow-up questions to ask him, they just wouldn't make them available. So, I did an interview on Sunday night where I said, because the Patriots didn't cooperate, it wouldn't surprise me if they were fined. And they were.
No, they didn't.
So I was really surprised about that, and that Tom Brady wouldn't allow access to his phone, even given that they would safeguard that they wouldn't get any personal information from him. I mean, to me, that was like admitting that he was guilty.
Yeah. Very true. I mean, the NFL, or not the NFL, but Ted Wells really gave the Patriots a rope. I mean, he gave them a chance to save themselves, saying, "Hey, look, we want to speak to you guys again. We have some follow-up questions that are pretty serious, some serious allegations," and they just turned them away. And that certainly hurt them big time in this whole thing.
Yeah, I think if they would have, there's a million ways this thing could have come down, and I think that the NFL would have taken any avenue to escape without having to admit that the Patriots did this or fine them harshly. But I don't think the Patriots gave them any choice. I mean, think about hypothetically, Tom Brady could have easily said, look, these 2 guys, they know that I like the ball underinflated, and they thought they were helping me out. Now, did I suspect it? Yeah, the ball felt a little soft to me too, but I don't want to say anything. I should have said something. Then he could have half admitted it, half not. I'm covering for these other guys. It'll never happen again. No biggie, right? But instead, he calls a press conference where every CIA person who's ever done an interrogation said the guy is lying. He's got every indication that he's lying, right? Then he goes into the Wells investigation, and he lies to them. He said to the people in the Wells report that he didn't know who McNally was. McNally's only job is to prepare game balls as to Tom Brady's liking. Obviously, they have to interact for Tom to say, I like this one, I don't. How do you like it? It was a stupid thing for him to do. They were obvious lies, and they say that in the report, that he's probably been doing this for more than a year. There's texts that indicate that they were doing this all the way back since the beginning of the season. So they hit him as a repeat offender, and they hit him as a liar, and they hit the Patriots as a place where people cheat and are congratulated for getting away with it.
Yeah, and there's a part in this report that's very interesting. Where Brady says that his preference was to have the football at 12.5 or at the low end of 12.5
or less. Yeah,
that he wants the ball softer, and then during a game against the Jets, and then later on with the Bears, he gets upset that the ball is too hard for his own liking, and demands that it's made softer and broken in a specific way. So obviously, right there is a great indication that this is a quarterback that is having an impact on what these 2 guys are going to do to the football on a Sunday basis.
Yeah. Well, Warren Sharp is a very clever football analyst who provides betting prognostication. He tells you he can help pick winners, and he's got a really impressive track record, and he can be found at Sharp Football Analysis. And when this first broke, he went back in time and discovered that during the 2006-2007 time frame is when Tom Brady lobbied the league to allow quarterbacks to bring their own footballs. And that prior to that time, according to the Welser report, Brady spoke to Peter King and said that he sometimes would lose sleep the night before an away game because he was so upset about how the balls might feel. So apparently this was something that gave him a lot of anxiety, and that from the moment they changed the rule, Warren Sharp discovered that the Patriots stopped fumbling the ball. I mean, they literally went from an average team to a team that was so far away from other teams that it couldn't be a coincidence. So it might just be that Brady deflated the ball so he could grip them better, but a side effect from it was that they just stopped fumbling the ball. And if that's the case, then it's insane to try to think that they didn't have an advantage when they became the best team by far in history when measured as a team that fumbles and loses possession of the ball.
It's a great point because I remember seeing that. I think it was in a New York Times article about that fumble rate, and I think the only team that came close was Baltimore, but that was the difference in percentage was so ridiculous. It's like 75 to like 50. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's a fraction. And like his whole point, he didn't really make any judgment call or anything. He's just saying that for those two events to be unrelated would be silly. You can't just train your players to hold on to the ball better and they have an exponential jump.
Does the NFL, when you look back on what happened in the AFC Championship game, does the NFL look bad? Obviously they do a little bit, considering that they were warned about this by the Colts and even the Ravens as well prior to this, and just kind of looked at it as, well, doesn't matter, we'll catch this somehow when we check the balls as we do before each game. Is this something does that really hurt the NFL from that standpoint, from the credibility standpoint?
I think that's an interesting question because everybody keeps saying over and over again that it didn't affect the outcome of the game. Well, I'd be willing to bet if Tom is so particular about this part of his preparation that if those balls were overinflated, maybe the Patriots aren't winning by 10 points at halftime. I mean, everybody knows a 10-point gap in an NFL game is a comfortable lead. When you're in a very close game or you behind, the whole game changes. It doesn't matter what the stats were in the second half. They were already up by 10. If they're behind or losing that game at halftime because Brady is furious that the balls are 15, right? Not 11. Let's say they're 15. He's screaming on the sideline and can't complete a pass. It's insane when people say, well, he could have played that ball with a beach ball. I mean, that's just dumb. That's like saying that the opposition wasn't a professional football organization, which they were. Mm-hmm. The gap was 10 at halftime. It wasn't 35.
Yeah.
Micahel Cohen here with Bryan O'Leary, author of SpyGate, The Untold Story. Bryan, this to me is really all about the integrity of the game, and I think what the Patriots have done here, really their hubris, more than anything else, has really done a real damage to the integrity of the sport, and I still find it very hard to believe that there are a lot of fans, and I understand they're fans, but there are a lot of fans out there who try to make this a conspiracy theory. Just your thoughts on how this is affecting the integrity of the sport right now.
Well, it's morally troublesome because basically what you're saying is everybody cheats, so it's a free-for-all. Well, that's silly on its face. You got to have rules, and when you catch people, you got to punish them. But here's the more to the point: who are we to decide whether it's worth, the risk? I mean, here's a guy who plays for a team that a lot of fans around the league call the Patriots. Would you purposely go out of your way to put your head in the guillotine and cheat again to just have some small, minor feel difference in your fingertips? I mean, it had to be worth it or he wouldn't have done it, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, they say in the text to these accomplices, I bet he's having a lot of stress getting these done. And he said, yeah, he really is. And then he gets him a game jersey. I mean, he knew that this was something that was touch and go. This was risky. But he insisted they do it anyway. You got a mountain of circumstantial evidence, an obvious, motive, and you've got somebody who looks really guilty. So you say, well, we don't have videotape. Well, no, but you're never going to have that. This is all the evidence anybody gets. Circumstantial, when you have a mountain of it, just like I do in my book, that's all you need.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's all you need.
That's why they use the language more probable than not. Not because they were being wishy-washy, but because that's an NFL jargon for guilty. See, the NFL used to not have these kinds of thresholds, and in the SpyGate case, they stated that they couldn't really come down hard on the Patriots because they couldn't really prove it, which is bunk because we know they destroyed all the evidence. But they said that from that point forward, it's going to be more like this. If it's a question of integrity, it's going to be beyond a preponderance of the evidence, or more probable than not. It means it looks really, really like they're guilty, so we're just going to go with that. So that's why they use that language, not because it's 50-50 like Brady's agent tried to say.
What would your prediction be as far as how this thing's going to pan out? Do you think this is the beginning of maybe going deeper into the rabbit hole as far as how long this DeflateGate was going on with the Patriots? Do you think that Brady eventually will accept, as you alluded to a minute ago, accept this suspension, and they'll just move on from it?
Yeah,
how do you see this playing out?
Yeah, I think that after it gets talked about for another week or so, cooler heads will prevail, and they'll figure out that they probably can't do much better with the league being put in the position they're in. If they take it to court, there's going to be a whole lot more discovery, which nobody wants. And, somebody is going to say something silly like, for the betterment of the league and to put this circus behind us, we're just going to take our lumps and move on. Mm-hmm. Which is silly, of course, because if you were really innocent, you would clear your name. Mm-hmm. And if you weren't, you would just adopt this false policy of just trying to move on down the road. But again, if Brady really wanted to clear his name, he would have let them see his phone texts, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's all you really need to know about this investigation is it was there to either clear or indict Brady, and he let it indict him. He let it. So that means he's guilty, and he's not out there vehemently denying it like Peter King wishes he would, because he clearly can't.